say hello to Lance Armstrong's mother, Linda.
Linda Armstrong Kelly.
Linda Armstrong. Linda Armstrong Kelly.
His mom, Linda Armstrong. Welcome. It's nice to see you here.
Stand up for yourself and take risks. Lord knows that is a story of my life. I mean, think about it. Determination, focus, and commitment. You've got to take risks. Optimistic people always find solutions.
Another thing I think about is how important it is to communicate and connect.
A lot of times, you're not going to get the answers to those questions that you want to hear. But you know, you've got to persevere. You've got to look for alternatives.
And what I find fascinating is what motherhood does and how motherhood helps prepare you for the corporate world. Teamwork and communication.
Today, I want to share with you stories of my life, my son's life. But the most important thing I want to share with you is how it is so important to never give up.
Lance would not be where he is today without Linda.
She's my mom, and she's a fan and a friend.
Linda was always his biggest cheerleader.
She is not a quitter. She's a tough lady.
I just would not let myself believe that he was going to die.
I never saw her upset. She was just a pillar of strength for me.
I am an eternal optimist, and I do believe and aspire for something better.
I am so proud to be the mom of Lance Armstrong. One of my biggest accomplishments was raising my son, Lance. But you know what's so amazing is that I'm up here talking to all of you today. I mean, if you had known me way back when, you'd be amazed too. Because when I was 16 years old, okay, anybody here raising a 16-year-old or have raised a 16-year-old? Well, think about it. You come home from work one night and your 16-year-old daughter is sitting on the sofa and you just know something is wrong. So you say, honey, how was your day? What's wrong? You hear these dreaded words you don't think you'll ever hear and hope that you never hear. What? I'm pregnant. That is where my story begins.
Linda worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs while still going to school. But at age 16, she became pregnant. Both her family and her school asked Linda to leave.
So often people thought that Lance had been raised with a silver spoon in his mouth and that we were well off. Let me tell you, that couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm 16 and pregnant, and I have dated and married the troublemaker with a gleam in his eye. Anybody out there date one of those guys? Marry one of them? I did. You know, I thought we would lead this fantasy life, and I thought that I'd be wearing my pearls like Donna Reed. I watched those wonderful, wholesome family shows, Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed, and I just thought that every wonderful man went to work and moms got to stay home and have a hot meal and wear their pearls. Well, you know what? That fantasy life didn't come true for me. It was about survival.
Just like every 16-year-old thinking about their next date, mine was thinking about how am I going to pay these bills. It was tough. Didn't take any public assistance, but I was determined that I was going to make it.
She had to work 3 jobs and go out and not feel sorry for herself. And so many people do feel sorry for themselves and take themselves way too seriously. So she's not that person. She's incredibly tough, and you know, there's no whining going on around her.
I look back and I think about, you know, we'd gone from poverty with no money to personal success, to competition and championship. As I reflect back, there were 3 key principles that really was a driving force to, I believe, this success. And when I think about those guiding principles, I think about the first one, and that's how important it is to ask questions. See, Lance was into triathlons and cycling, and I said, well, okay, son, what's the record? And he said, it's 25 minutes and 43 seconds. And I said, well, what is your goal? What do you want to finish in? He says, well, you know what, Mom? I think I can finish in 25 minutes. So after working a bunch of overtime, I purchased a ticket for Lance and I to fly to Moriarty, New Mexico, where he was going to break the Junior American time trial record. So that next morning, Lance gets up out of bed, ready to go warm up before he goes to the start line. Now, let me mention to you what a time trial is a race against the cyclist and the clock. And that's all he has to do is beat the clock. And the idea is to get up, go warm up, go to the start line, ready to go. So Lance jumps out of bed, is going to go out and warm up, and he says, seconds later he comes into the room and he says, "Mom, it is freezing cold outside." Now, we just come from Dallas, Texas, where it must have been 100 degrees, but we're up here in these mountains in Moriarty, New Mexico, and I said, "Gee, what are we going to do?" Because we had not packed any warm clothes. Well, I looked around, and I found my pink jacket. And I said, "Here, son, put it on." Without hesitation, Lance storms out the door with my pink jacket on. Now, I told him I would meet him at the start line. Well, I show up a few minutes early, and let me tell you what. These young men had on some of the coolest time trial slick outfits that you would have been very intimidated by had you shown up in your pink jacket. Well, Lance comes to the start line. He wasn't intimidated at all. Didn't bother him 1 minute. So the gun goes off. Lance goes off in my pink jacket. Well, he comes through that finish line at 25 minutes and 3 seconds. He broke the record. He didn't let anybody intimidate him, and he stood up for himself. He was focused, he was determined, and he was committed. He set his goal, and he accomplished it.
Back when I was 16, 17 years old, and really getting into big-time sports, she made me sit down at the beginning of the year and write down my goals. It's not a goal until you write it down, she would say.
By now, Linda was juggling Lance's demanding schedule with a full-time job. She had landed an administrative position with a telecommunications company based in Plano, Texas.
When Linda first came to Erickson, what struck me about her was that she was very mature, she was very bright.
I was like a sponge. I wanted to soak up everything I could learn, and the young people around me, these young, bright engineers that were just fresh out of college, it was such a refreshing experience for me.
Linda had some schooling behind her, but she didn't have the 4-year college degree. So it was a struggle. She was always proving herself, and I think that because she was so mature and so smart, she figured out a way to overcome those obstacles.
I think Linda proved that street smarts got her go a long way, and she was able to deliver.
Please welcome Linda Armstrong Kelly.
Linda now in her life is at a totally different place in her life now. She, rather than having to work every day, she works just as hard, but she does a lot of charity work, raises a lot of money for cancer.
I am so very proud to introduce to you tonight my son, Lance Armstrong.
Linda now had more time to devote to Lance's foundation.
Maybe she should have talked tonight. I've never seen you talk like that, Mom.
Another guiding principle that I've certainly applied in my life is how important it is to stand up for yourself and to take those risks.
On Wednesday, October 2nd, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Well, one evening I come home from work and the phone rings, and I got to tell you, this was a phone call I never expected to get. Lance's neighbor calls me and tells me Lance has been diagnosed with cancer. He's 26 years old. How can this be when just like that your life can change? And as much as I wanted to take that disease from him, I couldn't. I wanted to put my hands on him and take that disease, but it doesn't work like that. So what I did is as every mom would do, is became his teammate and helped him get through this incredible journey. As Lance is being treated for stage 4 testicular cancer, I was encouraged to get a second opinion. And I thought, well, why would I get a second opinion? I mean, everything's on track. I'd laid everything out for that 3 months that he was going to be receiving his treatments. And all the while, I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. So it didn't set too well with his existing doctor to go get a second opinion, but, you've got to take control of this dreadful disease, and that's what we did. So getting the second opinion, we learned that Lance had 2 tumors in his brain.
And we later that afternoon verified that he did have 2 tumors. So going down to get a second opinion and sitting with this doctor, realizing that he thinks, you know, I think I can cure Lance, but he may not walk out of here. He'll crawl out of here. We thought about that comment and thought, well, you know, that's a quality of life issue, walk out, crawl out, so that doesn't sound so great. Why don't we get a third opinion? And not only get a third opinion, let's go to the doctor who wrote the book on testicular cancer. And that's exactly what we did. After 3 months and 3 opinions, Lance survived stage 4 testicular cancer.
I never saw her upset. She was just a pillar of strength for me.
I just would not let myself believe that he was going to die.
So number 3, never give up, as easy as it sounds. Whatever that mountain is, if it's cancer, or if it's that mountain, Alpe d'Huez, that Lance rode in the Tour de France. You know, you should never give up because you'll never achieve those goals that you set out to do.
What message did you hope to send with this project?
Certainly hope and inspiration. That is why I wrote the book. And every day I have people that have read this book come up to me and say, you have no idea how much this helped me.
Where can you stand up for yourself and take those risks? Where can you ask those tough questions? Where can you, in your life and your journey, never give up? You see, there is no mountain high enough. My life, it's just like yours. It's not about that finish line, but it's about the journey. So when you leave today, by applying those 3 principles, think about how you can go close that big account. Think about running in that marathon. Or ask that question. Remember, it's always a no until you ask. Most importantly, when you leave today, remember one thing, and that's to never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much. Thank you.